I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And then if people join us, they can just jump on in. So my name is Shari. I work with Washington County Kids. I'm so excited to be here for our teacher tested tips and tools session for you. I just wanted to give you a couple of heads up items. One is we have a door prize. We got a $20 gift card from Pizza Schmizza in Hillsboro, so we're going to give that away at the end of the session. But you must be present to win. We have a whole process here, so hopefully you'll be able to stay. Hi. The other thing I wanted to mention is after the session, I will send you guys Megan's PowerPoint, her presentation in PDF, along with a short evaluation. Helps us a lot if you take a second and fill out your evaluation for us so we can improve what we offer. I think that's my notes. So I want to turn it over to, there's Azra. I want to turn it over to Katie Riley. She is the president of Washington County Kids. Katie.
So welcome everyone. I'm really happy to see you all today. And I think we're in for a special treat. We definitely are going to have a great time with Megan. Just to tell you briefly about Washington County Kids, in case you're new to the scene, we are a nonprofit that is trying to increase awareness of the need for access to out of school time programs, because as we all know, kids benefit from those programs. And to do that, we communicate with parents and providers. We also support providers in terms of both training and providing information to the community about what they do. And we also try to have informational programs for parents as well. So with that in mind, I am very pleased to present Meghan Kalus, who is going to be our speaker for the day and facilitate this training that you will benefit from. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Just wanted to say hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to be sharing with all of you some of my experiences and tips and tools that I've gathered throughout my years of teaching. And this is a topic that I'm really, really passionate about, have a wide range of experiences with. So I hope that you will find it helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I'm Meghan Kalus, and whoops. Just a little about me before we get started is I have my K through 8th teaching credential. I have a master's degree in reading and literacy education, as well as my reading specialist credential. After I got my teaching credential, I actually worked 1 year as an after-school provider with kids ages pre-K to 6th grade. So I definitely know what it's like to work in an after-school program. My mom actually also works in an after-school program, so I'm very familiar with that. And after that, I went on to teach about 7 years of 1st grade and 1 year of 2nd grade. So most of my experience has been with lower elementary, and I've taught in a wide range of schools. So the first school that I taught at was in California, and it was a very middle, upper income neighborhood with very involved families, lots of resources and enrichment tools handy for us. And then after that, my husband and I moved to New York City, where I taught in Harlem for 2 years. And that was kind of the polar opposite of my prior teaching experience. Most of my students were living in poverty in the projects that were right across the street from the school, or were homeless. And we had a lot of just mental health concerns with families and students. And this was definitely my most challenging teaching experience that I've had. But I learned so much during this time. I'm so thankful that for the experience, and there were a number of behavior challenges that I feel like I've pretty much seen it all. And then most recently, I taught in Beaverton at McKinley Elementary for 3 years. That's kind of a school in the middle of these two other schools where it's Title I, high diversity, high English language learners, and really high mobility with the students too. We'd have a lot of kids kind of come and go throughout the years. So I have kind of a wide range of different places that I've taught at. And just kind of my overall philosophy about working with kids is I really believe in the power of positivity with kids. So really focusing on their strengths. And when we speak to them, keeping it positive too, instead of pointing out, the negative behaviors that we're seeing, really catching them in the moments when they're doing something great and really acknowledging that. And also just the power of relationships with kids. My most challenging students were the kids that I was often closest to. And once you really have that bond and the trust of a student, you can really go a long way, especially if there are behavior challenges as well. So that's just a little bit about me. And I would like to just know a little bit about you as well. So if we could just go through and quickly, if you could just tell us your name, where you work, and the age group that you work with. And then right now, are you virtual or are you in person with kids? So let's go ahead and see. I can't see anyone's names actually anymore. So does anybody want to start?
I can help you, Megan.
Okay.
Sean, why don't we start with you, Sean?
Sure. I'm Sean Bartlett. I work at Portland Jewish Academy. I'm the new director of after-school programs there. So we have been closed since the pandemic. The after-school portion has been closed since the pandemic. Our early childhood portion has only missed 1 week of school. They reopened really rapidly after the shutdown. And then our day school is in session full-time as of 2 weeks ago. So there are kids in the building, but not with me currently. And it is, I primarily work with kindergarten through 5th grade, but there's also some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who are in there as well.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Azra?
Hi, I'm Azra Bayrami. I work for Metropolitan Family Service. So I run a community school out in Beaverton. And I work with elementary kids. So we do 1st through 5th. We also have like a summer program for the kids who are going to enter kinder. So we work with the little ones too. And we're virtual, but we have strong hopes for being in person this summer.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Amanda?
Hi there. Hi, my name is Amanda. I work over here at the Beaverton Child Development Center. Just recently actually took over as their site director. So coming into quite a whirlwind and cleaning up shop around here. So it's been quite the experience, but we work with infants to school age all the way through right now. And we have all of our kiddos in our school age classroom here. We have about 15 of them who are all actively doing campus connection and online classes. So we're assisting and facilitating that here, which has been crazy. You can tell that they're ready for summer for sure.
Great. Leslie's next on my list here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Wilda, and I'm the owner of Yoga Playgrounds, which is a school-based yoga program. So myself and other teachers, we go into preschools and elementary schools and teach yoga and mindfulness. as well as primarily as part of after-school enrichment in elementary schools. And we have decided not to go virtual. So it's been about a year since I've worked with anybody. And I think we're all just ready to get back to business in the fall when school starts again. Happy to be here. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to meet you. Susan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Ludwig, and I am the director at the Child Development Center in Sherwood YMCA. Amanda's my colleague over there. And we have infants through age 12 at site, and we have been operating business as usual, basically, with our emergency license. I haven't had any COVID downtime at all. And just, yep, going forward and ready for starting to gear up for summer camp.
Okay, fun. Thank you.
I see we did Amanda, Katie. Rachel, you want to say hi?
Hi, this is Rachel. I'm not teacher, but I'm a person interested in work with children and students. That's a long story about how I started, but I just enjoying having program with Washington County kids. That's helped me learn a lot. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
That's so great. Thanks for being here with us, Rachel.
Okay, I think, was that everybody then? Okay, thanks for introducing yourselves. It's so nice to meet all of you. So how this is kind of going to work is I'm going to do some sharing of information for the first half, and then the second half we'll get into breakout groups, and you'll be able to share some sort of maybe a challenge that you're having right now, whether it's with a student or a family, and we'll have some time to really problem solve together and offer suggestions so that hopefully you can walk away from the session really having something that you can go try out next week with kids. Also, feel free to interrupt me along the way or ask questions or input if you feel like you want to. So, all right, we can go ahead and get started. So, okay. Also, before I start this, I also did just want to say that as my year as an after school provider, I felt like that was much more challenging actually than my time in the classroom, because in after school programs, you really have a wide range of challenges that maybe you don't see in the regular classroom. You have mixed age abilities. You might have siblings that are together. Often kids, you get them maybe at the end of the day when they're really just tired and don't want to do too much. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that there are lots of challenges that come with after school care. And I think what you're doing is really, really important and meaningful with the kids. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit first about behavior challenges that you might see and how to get to the root cause of a behavior. So often what we see is some sort of behavior, and we're more reactive to that behavior. But when we think about it, there's really something that is causing that behavior. So one way to change a behavior is to really understand why it's happening to begin with. And every behavior is a need that is trying to be met. So I truly believe that kids want to be good, want to do well, want to be a part of the group, but sometimes there's things that get in the way of that. So we as teachers and providers sometimes have to do a little bit of detective work, getting to the root cause of a behavior. So some examples of behaviors that you might see in the classroom are things like hyperactivity or inability to focus. Maybe it's that kid that's kind of up and down and everywhere while you're trying to do something. Kids that might have negative interactions with peers and teachers. those are just a few examples of behaviors, but we can really start to think about what is causing this. And a way that we can find the cause is really to start to develop a strong relationship with that child. So we want to have a close relationship with all the kids that we're working with, but I think it's especially important for those challenging kids. So I actually have a picture here of one of my most beloved challenging students of all time. And he, with him, he was really attention seeking. He wanted adult attention and was going to get it no matter if it was negative or positive. And he would run out of the classroom. He hit me several times. And within the first week of school, I thought, okay, I'm going to need to form a close relationship with him if we are going to get anywhere. So what I started doing was the first week of school, I would pull him to my table while all the kids were doing something else independently. And he really liked to play cards. And so we would just spend 5 minutes playing Uno. And during that time, he thought it was really fun. He thought it was really special to spend one-on-one time with me. And basically, that was my chance to kind of just ask him questions, get to know him better, kind of dig a little bit deeper just into him and who he was as a kid. And that really helped. Once I started doing that, everything kind of was like an uphill, or I guess a downhill climb from there, because he really trusted me, and when I was able to get close to him. So some examples of things that might be causing the behaviors that we see in kids would be something like sensory overload. So sometimes when kids are in an environment where there's lots of other things going on, maybe things are too loud for them. There's just too much noise, or just visually, there is just too much going on and they tend to shut down, or that's when we see behaviors coming out. So that could be an example of a behavior cause. Maybe they're also really hungry or tired. A lot of times when we had kids come to our after school program, sometimes maybe they didn't like what lunch was that day and they didn't eat lunch. And by the time they got to us, it had been 6 or 7 hours since they ate, and we had no idea when they showed up. So figuring out, like, are they hungry? Are they maybe too tired? Other causes of behavior could be attention sinking, like the example I shared. Maybe they have inadequate social skills. So their interactions with their peers are just really maybe inappropriate or negative, and they need some help navigating that. Maybe there's an underlying health issue, or even just weak relationships with the adults around them, and they just need someone they can trust. So our job as the adult is to really dig deep and get to the root cause of that behavior. And it might take some trial and error. It might take, several days or weeks of really getting to know this kid and figuring that out. But once we figure out the root cause, that can help change a lot of things. So, oops, I keep doing that. Some questions that we can ask, or things we can think about when we do notice a kid that maybe has bigger behaviors than the average child. When we spend this one-on-one time with them and really get to know them, we can ask some questions like this, like, did you eat lunch today? Did you have breakfast? I would have a lot of kids show up and they would be really cranky and just in a bad mood. And then I would say, did you eat breakfast today? And they would say, no. And I would literally just give them a snack in class. And then usually that would change everything for the morning. Start to ask them questions like, when is your bedtime? Do you have a bedtime? Lack of sleep is also a large cause of behavior issues. How was your weekend? What did you do? I've also gotten a lot of insight from kids about asking them, who lives at home with you? So that can kind of tell you a lot about what their home life might look like outside of the after school program or where you're teaching. You can ask them things like, who are your friends? Just what's your favorite color? Basically anything to just dig a little deeper and really get to know them. And some of their answers might trigger something in your head and you think, oh my gosh, maybe that's the reason that they're doing XYZ, or maybe they're really lonely and they need some help making friends. So these are just a couple of investigating kind of questions that you can do while you're getting to know them. It's also really important to notice if their behavior changes positively or negatively after things like if they have snack, if they have movement, like when they come in after outside play, are they actually more focused because they've gotten their energy out, or does that make them more amped up? Do they need some one-on-one time with an adult? And that really helps them regain control. And now they're able to participate with their peers. So one thing that's been really helpful for me is also to document these challenging times. So we might think like, oh, the afternoon is always really hard for them. But if we write down, the times and behaviors that you see, and I know that can be time consuming, I would literally usually just have a notepad and quickly write down notes about them. We might be able to notice something like, oh, when we transition from inside outside time, that's when they have a meltdown. So let's help give them warnings about when we're going to be moving to outside, or maybe they need a timer to let them know. So it's really helpful to document and figure out what exactly the time is that is challenging for them. Also, the more information you can gather from coworkers, if you have access to talking to their teachers, usually since teachers, well, in the pre-pandemic world would be spending, 7 hours with them, they are pretty much a wealth of information. You could ask them what helps in the classroom, what doesn't help. And also just if you are able to talk to the families, if you're there during checkout time or dismissal, really getting to know the families well has been something that's been really powerful for me as well, so that they know that we're a team and we're on board together to help this kiddo. So those are some ways that you can kind of just, try to figure out what the root cause is. We can't really say it's definitely this, but you can kind of start to gather more information. So once you've figured out what the root cause of the behavior is, then you probably have to do a little bit of problem solving and thinking about how can I help meet that need of the kid. So for example, I had a student once that was just very hyperactive. He could only sit for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then he was up doing things around the room, and he was always getting into other kids' business. And I figured out he just needed movement breaks. So if we were doing something that was longer than 10 minutes, sitting at a table, or something that he had to be like quiet and listening for, he was going to need a movement break. And we came up with like a special hand signal that he would hold up. It was something that he made up. And that was my cue. I would literally just point to him and go, okay. And then he would take a movement break. And so I put an example of what a movement break could look like. And he just had like a little index card, and I would practice with him like appropriately. This is how you do these things safely. And we practiced for a long time together, but it could be something like do 15 jumping jacks, or I think one of them was like run in place and count to 50 or something like that. And whoops, let me see, sorry about that. And getting that movement out was really helpful. I've also known a lot of upper grade students or upper grade teachers that have also been really successful with movement breaks for older kids as well. So I think it's something that could be kind of all ages, but that helps meet their need for movement, because if you don't give them the opportunities to move, they're going to find their own way to do it, and it may be in a way that you like or don't. Some other things that I've tried in the past with kids that might need rest breaks or snack breaks. Maybe they need some one-on-one social lessons or skill building with you. And I know we don't have a lot of extra time during the day, but it could even just be 5 minutes that while you're doing outside time, they come and stand next to you and you just chat about this. I had one student who would just kind of barge into social situations and disrupt everything, and the kids really didn't like it. And I figured out that she really needed some tools about how to initiate play with other kids. So we talked about ways that she could go up to somebody and say, can I play? Or what are you playing? Can I join too? And once she had those tools kind of in her back pocket, then she was able to initiate play more appropriately with her peers. She was also very attention seeking, so I would always try to find ways to help her get positive attention from her peers instead of negative. So those are just some ideas of ways that you can help meet the cause of the behavior. So some other things that I have found really helpful in my experiences was we tend to see a lot of conflict when kids don't appropriately know how to regulate their emotions. So something that I learned about was using a calm down space, and it was really helpful to help kids gain control again. Does anybody currently use a calm down area or like a take a break space or anything like that? Okay. Would you like to share anything about it? You don't have to, but has it been successful for you?
Yeah, I used it when I was a middle school teacher for the bigger kids, to kind of have a space to peel away and not even, be seen by the other students, so that they could truly take a full break. We had large class sizes, so it was really necessary to give students that sort of break from everyone. And then in the after school program, we have break boxes, so they, kids can self-direct themselves there, and they can also be directed there if the teacher would like, but they have, things that are tactile and tangible for the child, or there's some books there for quiet reading for children who prefer that, crayons and paper, quiet things that don't disrupt others, but give the chance for the child to recenter themselves.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really important for kids to have. That's awesome. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
We have a child right now who kind of has a lot of these same things, needing and the urge to get out energy. And obviously, if he's not getting what he needs, acting out because of it. And recently we have built him a calm box, Zach's calm box. And it has basically, it's just filled with every tool that you could imagine, for whether it be a fidget for his hands, or he has headphones to help with sound and oversensory and overstimulation for him. Packs of gummies, because the chewing and that stimulation has been really helpful if he's needing a little snack. Resistance band to go at the bottom of his chair, so if he feels the need to like move and to run around the room, we can have him exert that energy in a different way. And it was a game changer. And just him knowing that he had that autonomy, that if he was feeling overwhelmed, that all he had to do was pick up his box and find what worked for him in that moment.
Wow, that's great. And it's great you've been so successful with it.
Yeah,
too.
it's been, it was changed the whole game, because we could just be like, oh, it seems as though you're feeling this. Let's go see what in our box can help with what we're feeling right now, or what we need right now.
Yeah. And then that gives him the tools to be able to kind of even
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, so it sounds like some of you have had experience with these. In my classroom, it was very simple. I didn't have a lot of space, so it was literally just a chair kind of on the side of the room where kids couldn't quite see them, with a list of strategies and ways to calm down. But I've seen a whole variety of different calm down areas or calm down corners, kind of like in the pictures here. It can be like as elaborate or simple as you like. I also had one student, it was really important for him to have like a private space where nobody could see him, because that would just like feed his anger if kids started looking at him. And so I literally just took a desk and put 2 towels over it. It was kind of like a tent. And that was his little space that when he needed to go in there, he would just go in. And his something that was really calming for him was to listen to music. So we had iPads and headphones. So I would just leave one in there, and he knew I taught him how to like open the app and listen to music. And so that was really helpful for him. I think it helps also, like Amanda was saying, to find the tool that really works well for them. I also think it helps to have some sort of visuals there. Like you can see in some of the pictures, there's a little chart of like things that they can do. And I think that you really need to explicitly teach the kids how to do those skills or how to use those tools appropriately. So they're not just playing when they're over there, but really model it and practice with them. You know, when we go down to the calm down space, this is how we sit. And I would have my kids just practice. Who wants to go practice using the calm down space? And that also kind of makes it, you know, where it's not like super new and exciting that they just want to go there all the time if they get to practice and use the tools that are there. And I always had it available that they could ask me if they wanted to go take a break, and I would always say yes, or I could ask them to go take a break too. And one thing that I found was really helpful was also using sand timers. So they have these on Amazon, and it's a great way for kids to be able to like visually watch time go by, which I think is really helpful for the younger kids. And I also have seen calm down corners work for like 7th and 8th graders too. So I think you can kind of adapt to meet the needs of the age group that you're working with.
Megan, Leslie was asking if that was a yoga poster.
Let's see. I think it is actually. This isn't my picture, but yes, actually, that's what it does look like. I feel like yoga would be really beneficial for kids learning to regulate their emotions and being able to calm down. So that might be even something awesome if you visit different classes for them to be able to incorporate into a calm down area in their rooms. Yeah. Okay, so here's just a list of some calm down strategies that I used in the past. You know, sometimes it could be something to like going for a walk if there's someone that's able to go with them, just taking deep breaths, getting a drink of water. Older kids might have a journal that they want to write in or listen to music. We had a strategy called blowing out the candles, where they would put up their fingers and then they would take a deep breath and blow out the candles. That's what that one was. So it helps to have, I think, a visual there to help them calm down. So I'm going to share this last part a little bit quickly, but something else that really helped in my classroom for conflict resolution was something called the peace rug. And you could change the name of this. It could be as structured as this or as open-ended as you'd like it to be. But basically, it was a format for solving problems. And I would teach the kids how to use this at the beginning of the year. I would model it, we would practice it, I would help them when they had problems. And then eventually over the next month or two, they could do this process completely independently. So if they had a problem with someone, they would just come up to me and say, "Can I take so-and-so to the peace rug?" I would say yes, and they would do this all by themselves. So we had a little rug in our classroom we called the peace rug, but it could literally just be sitting on the carpet. We did crisscross applesauce facing each other. And in the visual here, I wrote down sentence frames because they were first graders. So the first person says, "I feel blank when you," so I feel sad when you pushed me. And then the second person has to say, I heard you say you feel sad when I pushed you. Then the other child says, "Next time I'd like you to keep your hands to yourself next time I'll keep my hands to myself. And in a pre-pandemic world, we used to do handshake, high five, or hug at the end. You could do air high fives or air hugs, I guess now, but it was just like a really quick formula for getting kids to solve their problems. Now, sometimes there was maybe a little more deeper digging that we'd have to do, and I would often have each kid share their side and then just ask them, like, how do you think we should solve this problem? And I would say 9 times out of 10, they had an idea instead of me trying to solve it for them. So this was a really great strategy that worked really well for my kiddos. And one last thing, just some quick tips for keeping kids engaged, because we know when kids aren't engaged, that tends to be when we see a lot more behavior problems. I always tried to keep whole group time, like when you are just talking at the kids and they need to listen or sit still, try to keep that as short and sweet as possible, like 5 to 10 minutes. Most kids have an attention span that's about 1 minute per how old they are. So a 6-year-old has about a 6 to 12 minute attention span. After that, you're probably going to see them needing that need to move. And if you need to talk to them longer than that, you can always offer a brain break, which I would just call anything where we stood up and did a quick game of Simon Says or quick stretches, and that helped them get some of their wiggles out. I also think that when you offer choices to kids, it eliminates a lot of behavior challenges, because if kids get to choose which activity they want to do, maybe there's 5 different activities to choose from, they're probably going to pick the one they're most interested in, the one they want to stay the most focused on. If you even have the opportunity to pick outside time or inside time, like just let the kids do what they want to do. And I feel like that eliminates a lot of power struggles. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind that I learned over the years. So those are kind of my main tips that I wanted to share with you today. And so we're going to go ahead and move into the breakout session and really do some more individual problem solving. So what we're going to do is we're going to break into 2 groups, and we're going to do something called a fishbowl activity. So one person is going to be the timekeeper and the note taker, which Katie and myself will each be in a group, so we can be the timekeeper and the note takers. And basically you're going to have 1 minute to you don't have to rush, but just 1 minute to share a challenge that you're experiencing. So it could be with a difficult student, it could be with a difficult family, or just a situation in general. And so it's just 1 quick minute to share, give us a little bit of information about what's going on. And then for the next part, you're going to kind of zip your lips and just listen. We're going to give 2 minutes. Everyone else in the group can offer suggestions. And we're just going to kind of like popcorn, throw them out. Could you try this? Could you try this? And you're just going to stay silent and kind of absorb it all, take it all in. You don't need to say like, oh, I've already tried that. Just like let it all come to you, and hopefully there will be something that will like spark a new idea. And we'll also be able to email you these lists of things to try at the end. So don't worry about remembering all of them. My hope is that you just hear something that can give you a new idea of what to try. Then we're going to switch, and it's going to be the next person's turn in the group. If you have extra time at the end, it's going to be about 10 minutes long. You guys can talk about what's one thing you want to try next week from your suggestions. We may not have time for that. And then when we come back together, if one person from each group can just share their challenge and the suggestions that were offered to them, and the note keepers can help with that. I think if we share as a group our challenges, then we can really help learn from other people's situations as well. So I think Shari is going to go ahead and do the breakout groups.
All right, I'm going to assign you guys, and we will, I'll stay in the main session. So if you end up coming back, I'll be here, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes. So. Welcome back. That was fun. I got into both sessions. I don't know why I'm getting feedback. Sorry, you're hearing that. No, it's fixed. I just wanted to mention that I had one extra person in room 1 by accident. So I wanted to just pose the option, if you guys in room 1 had anything else to bring together as a group, we could just talk about it together if you ran out of time there.
I think we were able to
Yeah, did
get
everyone-
through everybody.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Is there anyone that would like to share their challenge just kind of quickly, and then some of the suggestions that were offered? Give me a second to think.
I guess I'll go.
Thank you.
So the challenge that I had posed to my breakout group and my room was that having multiple children in a room with challenging behaviors and those behaviors escalating those behaviors. We were saying, you know, maybe one friend who has some sensory issues and things of that nature, and then another friend when he gets overwhelmed screaming. And so those kind of things escalating to the point where we have multiple behaviors happening at the same time because they have all kind of escalated each other. So that was kind of a challenge that we're facing, is how do we stop these behaviors from happening so that we can prevent more behaviors from happening?
Yeah.
And some of the awesome suggestions and solutions that I got were, you know, group incentives, which we kind of have been posing a little bit here and there, but overall, just, you know, as a team collectively making those decisions. And is it Azra? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Azra had suggested a chart, you know, like a solution chart, bringing it to the table with like an I feel, and kind of giving them the autonomy to solve those problems themselves and before they become bigger problems, which was a great idea. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. I was just thinking, when you said you have some sensory issues, have you tried like noise canceling headphones
Yeah,
for any of them?
absolutely. And we do offer, you know, the space to, you know, hey, do we need a moment? We can come. I have a beanbag in my office that's kind of like a little space that they can come and just take a second to breathe before I'll take them back to their classroom. Have like a kaleidoscope and things like that in here.
Mm-hmm. I was also just going to suggest that sometimes for behaviors that we do feel like, oh, we've tried all these things and nothing seems to be working really, or they're just really challenging. And sometimes I have had kids who need like a very clear individualized plan, and having like a chart, and not really just like a sticker chart or a star chart, but to be very clear with like, this is our goal. So our goal is to make sure that we keep our bodies safe in the classroom or in the room. And then I would check in with them like every day when they got there, like, remember our goal, this is what we're going to practice. And I've had kids who, you know, every half an hour, if they were safe, they had to earn something. And maybe it was just 5 minutes of iPad or 5 minutes of drawing. I would usually ask them, like, what's something you would like to earn? And they usually knew. One kid wanted to wipe all the desks because that's what he really liked to do. And I'm like, sure, that'd be great. You can wipe the desks every hour, you know, if you're safe. And I think the idea with those plans is like to make them really like structured and really give them almost too much reinforcement in the beginning so they get back on track, and then just slowly kind of like wean them off of the plan. Like the plan shouldn't stay in place for like the whole year, but I've had them on for like a month or two. So that's always an idea too, if it's at the point where those kids just need something like to really motivate them. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to share, or anybody else who maybe had a situation they were hoping for like a few more suggestions for that?
I used a 3-year-old, but I got a lot of really good suggestions for how to help a little friend who's wandering.
Okay. What were some of the suggestions?
We had assigning him, a helper role, giving him some tasks, and activating, the I need your help. Also, Rachel gave a lot of feedback around activating his higher level thinking. So even talking about using some code words to support his transitioning, and also using singing as a way to help with the tasks, with whatever the task is, cleaning up or washing hands.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's definitely challenging when there's kind of that wanderer that's just doing what they want to do around the room. But yeah, I think those are some great ways to get him refocused and back on task. So if that's it for everyone sharing, I just wanted to share my contact information with you. Let me see if I can put that back up. And so if you have any questions or want like any one-on-one help problem solving situation, sometimes it's hard to do this in a group setting and you just want some individualized help, I am more than happy to consult with you and talk with you. I'm not teaching right now. I had my son right at the beginning of the pandemic and I stay home with him now, but I'm really kind of craving, like I miss being in the classroom, miss being with kids, miss helping them. So I wholeheartedly would love to help you if you need any suggestions or if something comes up in the future. This is my email address. It's meganberzoni@gmail.com. I also, at the beginning of the pandemic, started an Instagram account, if you're on there, for families and parents that needed some teacher tips and activities to keep kids engaged at home. And so I post a lot of just things that I did in the classroom or tips that I had in the classroom or things that I'm doing with my 1-year-old son now at home. So I put, if you want to follow on there, it's called Teacher to the Rescue, and you might find some helpful tips on there.
That's awesome. So nice of you to share that, Megan. And I can see how there's so much conversation people could have about this topic. I know we had a limited amount of time in our breakouts, but it sounds like from the little I gleaned while jumping in, it sounded really interesting to hear everyone's input. So I hope everyone got something out of those breakouts as well.
Yeah. My hope is that maybe you found, you heard one little thing that you can go ahead and try next week with that kiddo and give you some hope for getting them back on track. So just wanted to thank everyone for sharing and being so open and listening to my experiences. It's been really fun. So thank you very much.
We are so grateful, Megan. Really, it was excellent, very informative. I want to quickly, before we run out of time, jump into the door prize and just award that to one of you. So I'm going to share a screen. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. So I'm going to share our wheel and I'm going to give it a spin and see who wins. $20.
Ooh.
I love how your excitement matches the cheering. Thank you, Amanda. That was great. So what we'll do is I'll send you an email after the session and we'll coordinate how you can get your prize with Katie. She has it at her house.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Megan.
And thank you, Megan.
Thank you.